On the previous episode, we talked about the strategic importance of the Wookiees' homeworld of Kashyyyk, and on this video, we're going to discuss what would have happened if the CIS won the Battle of Kashyyyk. Needless to say, firstly, I am going to recommend that you do check out yesterday's video, as it does make some quite good points of how this rethink will end up playing out, and it does explain quite a lot of it. But regardless of that, let's continue. Now, we're going to say as Order 66 is initiated, the Wookiees perhaps put up a far greater fight than the clones were prepared for. In the infighting, the CIS forces see an opportunity and launch an assault and overrun the divided foe. Essentially, the clones would be killed, and the Wookiees are killed, forced to flee, or are captured. As well as this, somehow the CIS managed to destroy the Republic fleet around the system. So, what happens from here? Firstly, in the chaos that followed Order 66, we're going to say the Republic doesn't have the time nor the resources to organise a counterattack immediately. Meanwhile, learning of their victory, the Separatist Council choose to go against Sidious's and the now deceased Grievous's wishes, and they head to the site of their latest victory. Aside from this, everything remains the same. Anakin still turns into Darth Vader, the Jedi are still butchered, and Sidious forms the Empire. Now, with the CIS's leadership on Kashyyyk, Vader isn't able to kill them on Mustafar, nor shut down their droid armies, meaning that the CIS still has a very considerable military at their disposal. For this reason, I'm going to say that they extract the Wookiees' secret knowledge on hidden hyperspace routes, and they move much of their forces that are scattered around the galaxy to Kashyyyk. This would be a huge gathering of nearly all CIS forces and leaders, including notable military leaders such as General Kalani. Now, this is going to leave many separatist worlds around the galaxy to fend for themselves, but at this point, gathering Sidious had betrayed them. I firmly believe that the CIS Council will be more bothered about self-preservation over fighting for their cause. At the end of the day, the main reason most of these people were in the war to start with was to expand profits. They now have their massive military and fleet all gathered in one place, and the first thing I think they're going to do is keep a huge portion of that around Kashyyyk. As I said in the previous video, it was seen as the gateway to the eastern quadrant of the galaxy, and I believe that they'd set up a blockade. Hundreds of ships, thousands of guns, countless droids and fighters. As well as this, I think that they'd begin the colonization of Kashyyyk and the surrounding moons, enslaving the Wookiees and mining the resources, turning them into fortresses. Orbital shields, ion cannon placements, essentially this would totally cut off the primary gateway to the eastern quadrant. As well as this, they'd force the Wookiees into labour, making them refine the seemingly limitless amounts of starship fuel on the world, ensuring that their fleet remained mobile. After securing the gateway, I believe that they'd send a fraction of their fleet to blockade any smaller, less significant hyperspace routes in the eastern sector. Essentially, it'd create an impenetrable border. As well as this, they would share a border with Hutt space, which would provide a good buffer zone between them and the Empire. From here, they go from world to world with their massive fleet and army. Republic forces without critical resources from the core worlds would be forced to surrender, and their troops could either be executed or used as hostages. All systems in the Eastern Quadrant would essentially be under the command of the CIS at this point. At this point, they basically have their own little self-contained empire. Now, it's important to note, Sidious was already dealing with the nightmare of having the Republic turn into the Empire, and fighting the countless CIS resistance movements, so he wouldn't have the resources to take on this iron blockade that the CIS Council had set up for him, so he'd have to let it be. For now anyways. So, what do the Council do from here with their fraction of the galaxy? Well, firstly, I think they're going to start colonising worlds and seizing key assets. One particular world that I believe they'd be interested in is Mon Cala, whose residents were expert and highly revered shipbuilders. Essentially, I think that many of the CIS leaders would just totally abandon their cause. As I said, most of the Council's only reason for joining the war was to get rich, and now they undisputably rule a quarter of the known galaxy. So, they've won. It's my belief that they'd probably continue to build up their business empires, building and selling new droid ships, weapons, etc., meanwhile living very much like kings. Their worlds would either be brutal, efficient factoriums, producing materials and merchandise to be sold to support their regime, or lush, beautiful pleasure worlds for the Council and their allies to enjoy. And it's for this reason why I believe Sidious would probably just make peace. In exchange for some very favourable trade deals, I think Sidious would see no point to killing the CIS leaders at this point. He has almost everything he wants. The CIS Council may very well just agree to pretend to be dead so Sidious can claim victory. Meanwhile, they could produce all the weapons, ships, etc. that Sidious and his empire could ever need in their own little private quadrant. The Empire's need for these sorts of things were insatiable, and he would be getting what he wanted, and the Cold Council could live very happily and very comfortably in their own little private enclave. Eventually, it's probably inevitable that Sidious would grow tired of working with the tycoons who had defied him, and once his Death Star was complete, he would be able to simply wipe them, their fleet, and their worlds from existence and take what they owned. But I firmly believe that if the Tycoons and their droid armies dropped the Separatist cause and became a loyal but wary business partner to the Empire, then it would work out pretty well for both parties. But what do you think? Could this work, and would Sidious turn on them eventually? I do hope that you enjoyed. If so, please remember to like, sub and share, as it really helps the channel grow and is always really appreciated. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at @TheLawGuy for regular updates. Thanks for watching, I do hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.